Hi everyone, welcome to this new segment that I'm trying out called Kicking and Streaming. It's going to be all about what I've been watching on streaming services, obviously, during this time of confinement. And it allows me to just talk about just a batch of things that maybe aren't interesting enough to warrant their own full episode. And so I found that over the course of this confinement period, I've been sort of binge watching television shows on Netflix. So those would be Tiger King, Sunderland Till I Die Season 2. I had already seen Season 1. And the entirety of Formula One Drive to Survive. That was a quick overview and quick summation of my thoughts on these different shows. Formula One Drive to Survive is a series that follows the Formula One Drivers' Championship, both in 2018 and 2019. Obviously, I imagine they were supposed to follow this current season, which for now has been postponed. It is essentially a documentary series that every season sort of dramatizes the Formula One season, and it's pretty good about doing that, about creating drama and rivalries and these interesting sort of human stories in a world where, you know, on its surface, it's something that I'm really not interested in at all. I mean, fundamentally, I'm probably opposed to motorsport in general. I think it is about the least eco-responsible sport there is out there. And, you know, you think about Formula One, it's a bunch of multi-millionaires that are the playthings of multi-billionaires, and they're all these egotistical kind of assholes. But to be fair, they're all quite compelling to follow. The show really knows how to transform that into something that's really compelling. I will say that the second season is far more sort of confident in its storytelling. The first season really is super chronological, but during the second season, they are far more willing to cover a bunch of races during one episode in order to develop one theme or one rivalry, and then in the next episode sort of cover some of the same races, but from a different angle. And so, yeah, in terms of filmmaking, it certainly is more interesting. It's very engaging, especially season 2. Like I said, there's some really interesting characters. I think Alex Albon is like a really interesting persona within the world of Formula One, but as a whole, it's nothing special. I mean, it's a very polished, very well-made, and an extremely inoffensive sort of documentary. The second sort of show that I followed is Sunderland Till I Die. So the original season of Sunderland Till I Die, if you're not aware, was to follow the sort of renaissance of Sunderland Football Club. So they're this pretty important side in the northeast of England, and, you know, very working class town, very proud people, you know, hit by recession, very troubled area economically. And of course, in the north of England in particular, football is everything. And they're the sort of club that was always teetering on the verge of relegation. I actually remember them coming into the Premier League. But one year they finally couldn't save themselves anymore, and they were relegated to the second division, which is the Championship. And that's where the first season starts. It's supposed to chronicle this sort of renaissance, this return to grace, the return of Sunderland Football Club to the Premier League. And of course, why wouldn't they? They have a massive budget, they have a huge following, you know, a pretty impressive stadium, and players that are on huge salaries. Of course, nothing goes to plan, and Sunderland goes through the worst season of its history, probably, or at least in its recent history, and is then relegated to the third division. And certainly as a lifelong football fan, it is fascinating to see the ins and outs of how a club is run, particularly like a pretty big club in the grand scheme of things. And I think what's most interesting to me is how, in terms of administration, marketing, and the staff side of things, how actually small of an organization it is and how kind of amateurish it is, which is kind of interesting. And of course, there's something so compelling in watching people that are certain that they're going to succeed and fail miserably and go through, you know, the worst possible luck and also the worst possible crisis imaginable. And so I was kind of curious to see what the second season would be, because obviously, you know, it can't really get any worse than that. It did manage to hold my interest. There are less episodes than the previous season, which is a good thing, because like all Netflix shows, there are always too many episodes. I think what's interesting this season is it follows the new team that bought the club. There's this new owner that comes from the south of England. He's from the Oxford region, so he's not of the area. He's obviously this wealthy southerner and will maybe not be accepted by the local supporters. And the new guy who comes into like the chief executive, the sort of guy who makes all the decisions and who runs the club day to day, is this like cliched marketing businessman. Kind of has a David Brentish quality about him. It's kind of funny to watch. He's pretty compelling. Of course, the season isn't as much as a catastrophe as the previous season, although in the final episode, they do manage to not achieve what they were going for, and you see everybody be really sad, and again, there's something incredibly compelling about that. And so finally, the last thing I saw, like everybody else, I watched Netflix's Tiger King, and if you're not aware what Tiger King is at this moment, you're probably living under a rock, or I don't know where you're being confined, but it seems like everybody in the world has seen this. It's incredibly popular. It's been memed to death. Essentially, it's about this zookeeper in Oklahoma called Joe Exotic, and he's very outrageous. He has a mullet, he's gay, he's got guns, he's polygamous. I mean, he is basically how the rest of the world sees America, if that makes sense. And it is the most American thing ever. Like, it's about people that have tigers and they don't want their tigers taken away, and that are trying to make a quick buck off the suffering of animals. It goes even further into conspiracy to commit murder and accidents, and this guy does country music, which is kind of amazing. And of course, it's extraordinarily entertaining, but now that I've watched so many Netflix shows back to back, whether they're serialized documentaries or a, complete miniseries, I do start to see a lot of commonality between all of these different documentary shows. And that is that, they're extremely entertaining, they're very engaging, they're very digestible. They are very much the fast food of the documentary world. But I do have this thought, which is, are they that much different than reality television? They kind of tend to employ the exact same strategies. And, in Tiger King, the fact that they're making a reality television show out of Joe Exotic makes perfect sense. These shows are not so much interested in exploring any of the characters' humanity. Like, you don't really get any profound insight into anybody that is in the Tiger King. The show is really about taking the audience on this outrageous journey and constantly telling him, look at this is outrageous, this is insane, these people are crazy, let's laugh at their expense. And you should laugh at their expense. They're absolutely ridiculous, at least the way they're portrayed, but this is exactly what reality television does. Someone like Werner Herzog is somebody who's very much attracted to these quirky kind of characters, but he's always able to extract their humanity, to extract the beauty in the absurdity and the outrageousness, and this really doesn't try to do that at all. It really doesn't have anything to say either. I mean, the very existence of this zoo, of these characters, are such a crazy indictment on, American society, on the world in which we live, where we've commodified everything. Even one of the world's apex predator is reduced to this house cat. Everything is consumable, everything is purchasable, all our desires need to be met. I have money, I want a tiger, so I'm gonna get a tiger. Like, as if that is in any way normal. We've created an entire system of spoiled brats, me want, me gets. And the people that visit these parts are just as much part of the problem, if not even worse, because if there wasn't money to be made, then these people wouldn't, do these horrific things and breed tigers in captivity and euthanize them once they're of lesser monetary value. And the film really doesn't explore that really at all. I mean, it's there because it's inherent to the subject, but it really doesn't have that much to say. It's really just about grabbing you by the shoulders and exploring this crazy world. And I'm not to say that it has to say anything, but I am worried that Netflix at this point is probably the largest purchaser and distributor of documentaries on the planet. People won't go see documentaries in the theater, they won't go to documentary film festivals, but they will sit at home and watch documentaries on Netflix. And what profoundly worries me when I see the success of these shows is not their quality. They're pretty good quality. They're very good. Very entertaining, very digestible, very fun, but I'm really worried that there's going to be a formatting of documentaries in general to try and fit within that mold. Sort of reality TV, cable news, very sensationalist, very outrageous sort of storytelling. And with, of course, in the grand tradition of Netflix, with too many episodes, because probably the algorithm likes you to spend a lot of time on the platform. And I am worried that filmmakers just won't be able to make the documentaries they want to make anymore, and they're really going to have to just stay within that mold, and that really these kind of documentaries are all we're going to get. And I'm not against them existing. I just hope that, you know, they don't become so popular that that's all we get for a while. So as always, thank you very much for watching the video. Please be sure to hit the like button if you like the review, subscribe if you're new, and until next time, see ya.